Tottenham Hotspur are set to travel to St James's Park this Wednesday evening. In today's video, I'm going to delve into how I believe Spurs should set up to get a massive result against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. Eddie Howe's preferred formation at Newcastle has been 4-3-3. He wants his team to play with intensity. He wants to see Newcastle be aggressive without the ball, press high, try and win the ball as high up the pitch as possible, and then create overloads in transition, which his attacking players make the most out of. He is adaptable as well though. He'll occasionally switch to a back five against top teams, whether that's starting with one or switching to one late in a game if they're ahead. Away from home, he's a little bit more defensive with a 4-3-3 a lot of the time, whereas at home, he's as aggressive as you can possibly be. This tactical adaptability and intensity that his teams play with has made him one of the most successful managers in the Premier League. Maybe not with trophies, but with changing clubs' fortunes. He took Newcastle from the gutter to the Champions League places. He took Bournemouth from League One to the Premier League. This guy is one of the most underrated managers in the world, in my opinion, and in the Premier League, he's one of the best and deserves far more credit than he gets. One of the main reasons Eddie Howe plays such attacking football at Newcastle is because of the quality of player that he has up top in his team. The first danger to Spurs I want to discuss is Nick Voltemade. To slot in as seamlessly as this guy has and replace Isak, one of the club's greatest players, it really is incredible. Nick Voltemade has been nothing short of brilliant so far this season. When he's got chances, he's finished them. But when you look at him, you think, okay, typical big man, just going to hang up top, sort of wait for the service, and then when he gets it, be clinical. And he has been clinical when he's got the service, but he does so much more than that. He does so much more than Isak. In all honesty, he drops deep like he did at Stuttgart, linking up play, comes towards the ball. And because of this, Newcastle have emphasised wide areas more in their attack, which allows him, when he drops deep, to get back into a forward area so that when the cross comes in, he's there. He's been involved in so much of their good play so far this season and deserves so much credit for the way he slotted in. He was good at Stuttgart, but he looks like another player that is just thriving under Eddie Howe. Another danger man for Newcastle in wide areas that I just mentioned a second ago is Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon was good at Everton, but he's been even better since he joined Newcastle. Howe has taken him to the next level like he has done with many players at Newcastle. Anthony Gordon's one of the most direct wingers in the Premier League. Every time he receives the ball, always looking to go forward, always looking to create a chance, always looking to have a shot. He's so direct. His pace, he's unbelievably quick. His movement off the ball as well so often drags centre-backs out of position to give other attacking players for Newcastle, such as Voltemade, the last few seasons, Isak, Joe Linton, Jacob Murphy, more space. Anthony Gordon's been fantastic. He hasn't scored a goal in the Premier League so far this season, but no doubt he will. He only scored 6, I think, last season, but it's not so much about the goals with this guy as a winger. The goals come from Newcastle's striker. It will with Voltemade. It did with Alexander Isak. His goal is to create opportunities, to free up space, to be as direct as possible, and he's done that brilliantly. With Voltemade dropping deep to try and link up play, and Anthony Gordon constantly trying to pull away from his man to get into space and make himself an option, you need someone to be able to find these two players, and the man who's done that more than anyone else on the pitch for Newcastle this season has been Kieran Trippier. Even at his age, he's having one of his best seasons in his entire career. He's averaged more progressive passes so far this season than he ever has done at this point of a season. Considering he played under Simeone at Atletico and Pochettino at Spurs, it shows how involved he is. It's because a lot of Newcastle's attacking play comes from crossing the ball in, and Trippier is their best player at that. Every time he receives it on that right-hand side, a little bit like Porro, always looking for the ball in. But it's when they're playing out as well. They often go wide, and when he's under pressure, he'll look for that lofted ball into Voltemade, who's dropped deep, or that switch of play to Gordon. With how attacking Newcastle are in a majority of their games, they get dissected like a chicken in a Year 8 science lesson if they don't have a solid midfield. Thankfully for them, they have Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali. Sandro Tonali reads the game extremely well. You can see the difference in how solid their midfield is and how hard it is for teams to play passes through it when Tonali's in there. The guy reads the game better than most players in the Premier League. João Paulinho is a very similar player. Does Tonali do flashy things on a football pitch? No. But does he do the basics extremely well? Yes, and he's a big reason why they've got a good defensive record, despite not having much quality in their actual back line. Bruno Guimaraes, he's a passion player. I love watching this guy. Similar to someone like John McGinn, his heat map's insane. He's here, there and everywhere, constantly involved in games. Occasionally get booked, but you take it for all the great tackles. Another reason Newcastle concedes so few goals despite pushing so far up the pitch in many games is because of how compact they are. Without the ball, their goal is to stay as narrow as possible to not allow the opposition to create overloads in central areas and counter-attack them. The middle of the park is where Newcastle are strongest. The spine of their team is what their entire side is built around, their attacking play and their defensive play. So in the middle of the park, they do not allow teams to have the ball. And if they do, they're constantly getting doubled up on or having 3 players on them. And when you look at their defensive record, how few goals they've conceded under Eddie Howe over the last few years compared to many other teams in and around where they've been in the table in those seasons, it shows that it's working or has worked. Now I want to delve into how I believe Spurs should set up against Newcastle. For all the strengths of the 4-3-3, there are some weaknesses. One of them is breaking down a low block. So I believe without the ball, Spurs should sit in deep, stay compact and narrow, and make ourselves hard to break down. Another weakness of the 4-3-3, when the team is pressing high, they're often vulnerable to be counter-attacked in wide areas. I believe Spurs should target these wide areas, especially our left-hand side and their right-hand side. When you look at Kieran Trippier this season, constantly forward. I think we should be looking to double up on that left-hand side when Newcastle are sat in a little bit. And when they're not, whoever starts out there should be constantly looking to make runs. And the back line should be constantly looking to play balls over the top to them in space. Formation-wise, there are multiple formations that can work against a high-pressing 4-3-3. For example, a 4-4-2 diamond or a 4-2-3-1. But I believe Spurs should go with a 3-4-3 and switch to a 5-2-3 without the ball. This will allow us to counter-attack in those wide areas whilst also staying defensively solid. When we play out from the back, Newcastle's front line will very likely press us man for man, so we're going to need Vicario or Kinski, whichever one starts in this game, to be fantastic with the ball at their feet. I also believe when we play out, the 2 fullbacks should drift into the middle of the park a little bit more, so that the centre halves can then play a lofted ball over to them and we can get out and start moving forward. Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea did this very often against the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City, and it worked a treat. In terms of the lineup selection, I would choose a back 3 of Kevin Danso, João Paulinho and Mickey van der Ven. Danso for how good he is in the air, Mickey van der Ven for his recovery runs, and João Paulinho so that when we play out, we have the confidence and strength to be able to hold on to the ball. The 2 midfield players for me should be Pape Matar Sarr and Bentancur. We're going to need Bentancur to be accurate with his passes, and I think Sarr's great at roaming the pitch and covering a lot of ground, so he'll be a good player to have in the middle of the park. The fullbacks for me, as they'll be playing a little bit more as wingbacks, should be Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie if he's fit. If he's not, you play Jed Spence out there. The front 3 for me should be Mohamed Kudus on the right, Xavi Simons on the left, and Kolo Muani up top. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if I see Frank rotate a few players as it's a Carabao Cup game when you consider we've got a Champions League game next week and a big game on the weekend. But if we're going to rotate either in the Copenhagen game or this one, I prefer to rotate in the Copenhagen game. Do I want to go far in the Champions League? Yes. But are we realistically going to win it? No. And that's a much more winnable game on paper than Newcastle. So I think we should go as strong as possible, and I think it'd be good for the likes of Muani to get minutes. The manager can only choose the lineup and tactics. It's up to the players to be at their best out there and to do the basics well. At an away game like this, You have to win your 50-50s, your aerial duels, your 1v1 battles, because if you don't, that crowd gets on top of you. You start to feel the nerves as a team. You concede a goal and things start falling apart very, very quickly. We need to be solid at the back. We need to be clinical going forward. But if we go with the right tactics and the players on the pitch step up, I'm confident after what I saw at the Hill Dickinson that Spurs can go to St James's Park and come away with a win. Target set pieces as well. Newcastle don't concede many, but we score quite a few. Thanks for watching. As always, come on, you Spurs.